Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, that's better, that's better. Thank you. Allow me to take this opportunity to just acknowledge the presence of our Dean and the Deputy Dean, who is also the Director of Ceremonies, all our professors, our foreign delegates, as well as our Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education guests who are with us, who include the District School Inspector. Would you like to stand up so that we see you, Mr. Nyabuya? Thank you very much for coming. Yes, thank you. Is the DSI for Focus, it's now Focus and Glenview. Ah, good. Thank you very much. And we also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Ntiramasanga, who is just walking in. Thank you very much. Right, time is of the essence. We have to make sure that, within the next couple of hours, we are through with all the work that is before us. And without any further ado, I would like to introduce the first presenter, and we'll be giving our presenters strictly 20 minutes. Dr. Kalyana, from his experiences, he told us his story, and he said the future chairpersons don't fall into my predicament. So I will follow into that. So it will be strictly 20 minutes. And if you are left with the 5 minutes, I will ask Professor Zindi to send you a special message. What is it called, Professor Zindi? Oh, you will send a kiss. K-I-S-S. Okay. So you will just see a small piece of paper with a very nice message, kiss. All right. Good. Our first presenter, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. C. Constantine Pedesine. I would like to invite Mr. Pedesine to come forward. While he's walking up, I would like to just share with you, just give you a brief resume about Mr. Constantine Pedesine, soon to be called Dr. Constantine Pedesine. He has a Bachelor of Education degree in Agriculture and a Master's degree in Curriculum Studies from the University of Zimbabwe, and is currently in his final year doing a doctorate in Curriculum Studies with UNISA from South Africa, and has had very good experiences in the entire education system, having been a classroom practitioner, an education manager, school administrator, and teacher educator at colleges like Marymount, Mukoba Teachers College, and is currently a lecturer at Chino University of Technology, and is with the Center of Indigenous Knowledge and Living Heritage. And of course, he is also he combines as a lecturer in the academic at the Academy of Teaching and Learning. And in the sphere of research, he's done quite a lot, really, especially in the area of Tibet and contemporary curriculum issues. He is currently in his possession 14 publications in referred journals, and has published two books. And this is the 9th conference that he is making a presentation. Is actually affair with these matters. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Pedesine.
Nice jacket. Nice presentation. Thank you very much. This presentation is part of my PhD work. The title is, which I chose for this presentation, is Striving for Sustainability looking at prospects and opportunities for the inclusion of indigenous agricultural knowledge in Zimbabwe secondary school agriculture curriculum. I think agriculture, from grade 1 now up to Form 4, I think, is compulsory in Zimbabwe. And even grade 7s will also write a compulsory agriculture paper. We are aware of that. Next slide. That's my presentation. And maybe we can go to the next slide, the introduction. As I've alluded to already, agriculture is arguably the backbone of most nations. It sustains their economies in terms of alleviating the populace from hunger, malnutrition, rural poverty, environmental degradation. And we've got hundreds of cereals, hundreds of vegetables and fruits, and a couple of livestock that we keep in Africa and Zimbabwe included. But corollary, the state of affairs in most African countries, Zimbabwe included, is that agriculture curricula tend to favor Western farming practices and knowledge while denigrating the indigenous agricultural knowledge. And that's the basis of my study. However, the fact that we have a lot of indigenous agricultural knowledge and practices having been resilient, having stood the test of time, is a clear testimony that despite their colonial and new colonial occupation, they still continue to exist and therefore to be practiced. Next slide. Due to such resilience, that there are a lot of farming practices that we already we carry out now. As we will see in the findings, it stands to reason that their presentation, their present promotion, and their subsequent harmonization with some current farming practices could have a positive contribution towards sustainable agriculture. We find that the curriculum itself is dominated by Western agricultural practices at the expense of our own indigenous ones. Yet the climate favors, even the soils tend to favor, even the knowledge that we have should favor indigenous knowledge. So by sustainability in education, I refer to the integration of social, environmental, and economic concerns so as to arrive at the development paths which meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generations. That's what we mean by sustainable. Is whatever we are doing sustaining Zimbabwe, does it meet the needs of the present generation and not compromising also that of the future generation? That is what I mean by sustainability, according to TACRA 2015. But during the post-colonial era, the era that we are in Africa, there has been a growing interest in the restoration of our lost or dying IKS soils, utilize them to sustain livelihoods. A lot of talk, so many people are so much interested in researching on indigenous knowledge because they found that it can sustain livelihoods. The new national curriculum that we are talking about places emphasis on culture and heritage studies and makes agriculture compulsory for all learners. This study presents the resultant sustainability benefits of infusing indigenous agricultural knowledge systems and practices in the Zimbabwe secondary school agriculture. That's the aim there. Can we go on? Now, I will start with the statement of the problem, that there is a dearth of indigenous knowledge in the curriculum in Zimbabwe. Most of the aspects are Western agricultural practices, which means the indigenous knowledge plays second fiddle to Western agricultural practices. But we are dealing with a curriculum that is African, but the curriculum tends to be dominated by Western practices in terms of agriculture. Yet, indigenous crops and livestock products have the untapped potential of feeding the whole universe. That's according to literature, to ensure food security and food sovereignty in Africa. And one would wonder why Western farming practices should dominate our curriculum. Maybe it's because we've gone through a colonial education meal ourselves. But I think there must be a paradigm shift to appraising our own indigenous knowledge system, not only in agriculture, but in the whole curriculum. So that the learning becomes really homegrown, so that it becomes meaningful. And as Joey said, there must be an experiential continuum between what happens, what students learn at home, the life that obtains at home, and that which they will experience in school. And indigenous knowledge also accepts other knowledges. It doesn't only, dominate, the scenario. So we are talking about the need to harmonize the two worldviews, that is Western science and ideas in the school curriculum. Next slide. Those were my research questions, and I should draw your attention that this study was this presentation is part of my PhD work. I looked at the components of indigenous agricultural knowledge systems which exist in the communities, the indigenous farming knowledge and practices which exist in the communities. Versus that which exists in the syllabus, in the syllabuses, in order to establish a gap and say which ones should also be included now. Once you know those that are in the community, minus those that are in the curriculum, then you have a gap, and then you say which ones should be included. And after that, you say what would be the benefits of that endeavor. And the benefits are the sustainability issues that I'm talking about. Next. I have a brief literature review that there are cultural practices which indigenous Africans have known and practiced for generations, even before colonialism. We were farmers ourselves. These practices are based on centuries of experience, informed experiments, and intimate understanding of the biophysical and social environment of the indigenous people. They suit very well with their practices, with their environment. But when colonialism came, all these were despised. Next slide. However, due to colonialism, the knowledges were marginalized. They were denigrated. They were downplayed. They were condemned and even excluded. But now you find the non-governmental organizations are coming back with the same indigenous knowledge practices which they denigrated, calling them new technologies. Natika, something like that. That's zero tillage. Yeah? The same practices which they denigrated, they are coming back and saying, these are new technologies. Because they know they cannot influence the indigenous people to accept their programs if they don't go through the indigenous knowledge pathway. Kaira himself says, colonialism goes beyond territorial conquest. It affects one's epistemological stance, worldviews and perceptions. With education system in many countries in Southern Africa continue to be grounded in Western viewpoints, marginalizing local indigenous voices and ways. I think that's a mouthful. Next. Ogni, he cited, Dr. Moyo cited Ogni yesterday, and they make one project that there are intersections, our mates, between IKS and Western science. And remember, while we are talking about indigenous knowledge, we are talking about the knowledge that is indigenous to Zimbabwe, to Africa. And when you take off Western knowledge, it's also an indigenous knowledge to the West. So both are indigenous knowledges, but developed in different localities. But we find one knowledge dominating the scene in an alien, continent. Ogni says in his contiguity argumentation theory, he considers both indigenous knowledge and Euroscience or Western science as equivalent, that they are complementary. Therefore, they can be harmonized. While we are saying we're not saying we don't have indigenous knowledge in the curriculum. I said there is a dearth. There are very few aspects that are indigenous in the agriculture curriculum. Yet we could have more. So they can be harmonized according to need. That was the current stance of according Western science and practices is the dominating universal knowledge would be overturned or descended if we combine the two. Especially if we could have more Western, indigenous than the Western. Because we are dealing about a curriculum that is indigenous, not a curriculum that is Western. Yes. Day, the prolific writer himself, supports that contention of Ogni when they suppose the coexistence of IKS and Western knowledge in the curriculum, that each knowledge claim make up for the inadequacies of the other. And this is the complementarity of IKS and Western knowledge. Shaba, who happens to be my supervisor, underscores that formal education usually suffers the setback that it is usually out of context with learners' lived environment. So Western. This sets up and creates two separate worldviews of the learner. The school world and the world in which they live. That mismatch between the school world and what they live at home. What we teach at home is not consonant with the lived experiences of our children. The school world and the world, and the world in which they live, indigenous knowledge should be integrated into mainstream education to enrich the learning environment and put learning processes into context with the learner's living environment. I think even John Jew was saying that experiential continuum between the home and the school. Don't teach children new things that have no relationship with what they experience at home. That's John Jew. Next slide. Hence, the need to identify the relevant components of IKS, indigenous knowledge, that can be included in the science curriculum. That was Jageden and so forth. Then Chota and McLean are of the idea that practices which have something to do with plant and animal production should be protected and continue to be used. That is indigenous farming practices which have something to do with plant and animal production should be protected and continue to be used, since there is a lot of advantage over the Western farming process. 5. Next. Okay. Then, suppose that he talks about having the good. Says, even in the traditional farming, there was the good and the bad. And what we should aim at are the good. And so we should emphasize on the good. And during the post-colonial era, as I have said, there has been a growing interest in indigenous knowledge. Carol? The theoretical framework, actually there were two, the decoloniality, which underscores that the colonial theory is concerned with confronting, challenging, and undoing the dominative and assimilated forces of colonialism as a historical and contemporary process. It should not dominate. Next slide. Then I also had another theoretical framework, the morphogenesis theory by Margaret Archer, which talks about the interplay between the agency and the structure over time. The agency and the structure, that is the institutions and the communities that they serve. The community that is, what is the relationship? Like in this case, you find that a lot of institutions which are affecting the agriculture that is taught in schools. Next slide. The method of data collection, it was a case study. We know the advantages of a case study, but for the actual study, it was a multiple case study to avoid the issue of bias. But for this one, I only looked at one. Next. Then the sampling, it was purposive, where I had two types of purposes, the intensive sampling and the snowball. Snowball for the farmers, where one farmer is rich in IKS, because the farmers are the ones who are the who own the IKS. They have got the IKS with them. If you identify one, you interview, then we will tell you the next person to be interviewed in a snowball way. So I had the same structured interviews for agriculture teachers at Rio Tinto Shopping Center School, high school. Then the local agri-tax officer, then 6 local farmers, 3 from the communal area and 3 from the small scale. Those from the interviewees. Then I was also observing the activities both in the school and also in the farms. Then I analyzed the documents. I can talk a little about documents because I'm through with the chapter on document analysis. But for the purpose of time, I don't have. So it was analysis of the schemes of work of the teachers to find out whether they've got any IKs, there is any IKs being taught. Then the students' work. Then the syllabus itself. Then the Zimbabwe Agriculture Investment Plan. Then the Zimbabwe Second Science Teaching and Innovation Policy. Find whether there are any IKS issues in the Zimbabwe National Heritage Arts Council policy. Next slide. The findings. On the left, I have IK, indigenous agricultural knowledge systems components that need to be included in the curriculum. After I looked at those, and these include indigenous local tenure systems, conservation farming methods, organic farming, anti-oil and ash manuring, indigenous crops, the small grains and crops, the indigenous methods of seed treatment, indigenous methods of seed selection, indigenous crop protection methods. Remember, we have got a lot that we can do to protect our crops against weeds, pests and the like from an indigenous perspective. Indigenous post-harvesting techniques, how we process our foods, and how we then market them. And then indigenous methods of weather forecasting. They've got a lot. I don't have time, I would have told you a lot. Next slide. Then the benefits. And it is from the benefits that we now draw the sustainability issues. One, that they are cheap, local knowledge and inputs. Even the poor can afford. So it's sustainable. You are using readily and locally available resources in your farming system. And the methods that you use are very environmental friendly. Like when you use manure, organic manure for fertilizing your crops, against use of fertilizers. Fertilizers can be toxic to the environment by disturbing the ecosystem. The conservation of the soil, the roots of the plants, very good at resisting soil erosion, the nutritional status of the soil from some of the plants that are legumes in the Nile. They are easy to use. They give people their cultural identity. And this way, if we've got our cultural identity, that is sustainability itself, than having ourselves imbibing a foreign culture which is not even consonant with the climate and the natural environment of our area. Then so we are conserving our culture. It brings old proven principles with respect to indigenous knowledge systems into the new world of agriculture, rather than having everything Western and Western and Western. It widens or enriches students' knowledge of agriculture. It's not only Western, but once they are taught what they experience also at home. Remember I said they have been resilient. There are so many practices that have stood the test of time. Vaisungwana varungu vachidi vachiregera izvi asi pane zvimwe zvavakaona kuti zvinoweka for them. Next. It's not foreign, it's homegrown, and it will give IKS the chance to be recorded, because remember, it's not recorded. And if we teach it in our schools, in agriculture, in other subjects, it will give a chance to be recorded. And I've talked about management of the ecosystem. The plants themselves, the animals themselves, our own indigenous mombes, our own indigenous goats, our own indigenous legumes, the millets, the cereals, all those are acclimatized. They can withstand the climate. They are used to the climate. So, and all those will lead to ensure more food security and food sovereignty. They seem to be similar. Food security and food sovereignty. When you are sovereign, you don't have to rely on other countries. Next. Implications. Like 2 minutes I will be through. Generally, findings indicate that the resilient indigenous farming knowledge and practice can be included in the school curriculum. Generally, indigenous agricultural knowledge and practice have proved to be sustainable over a long period in their own localities. Tertiary institutions should incorporate indigenous knowledge in the curriculum, enhance acquisition of indigenous agricultural knowledge and practices, and promote sustainability. The need for research to develop and promote the untapped potential of our indigenous crops, our indigenous livestock. Next slide. This one refers to research. I just got it this morning. It is mainly to scientists, policymakers, and the world at large that they remain lost, those crops. Actually, the book, most of the books talk about the lost crops of Africa, because they've been, forgotten sort of. Such outsiders include, of course, many in Europe, North America, and elsewhere, who influence African research policies, directly or indirectly from afar. But outsiders also include science establishments and policymakers within African nations. In this regard, it is noteworthy that many sub-Saharan countries allocated their meager agricultural research funds over to major international crops like maize at the expense of the indigenous ones. They need to be researched on, so that maybe we can improve productivity. That's like the conclusion. Due to colonialism, indigenous agricultural knowledge is surely an underutilized resource Although it is not possible for Zimbabwe to revert the pre-colonial path, policymakers can draw some lessons from indigenous agricultural knowledge systems to incorporate indigenous knowledge in their quest for sustainable development. I think that is the last one.
Shall we put our hands together again for Mr. Pedesai? Thank you very much, Mr. Pedesai. A very useful and very interesting, very illuminating presentation. Mr. Pedesai observed that, in Zimbabwe, agriculture is now offered right across the board, from primary school through secondary to university. That never used to be the case. It used to be offered in primary school, in primary school, at O level, and not at A level, but being offered at university level. That used to create problems. Now it's right across the board. Primary school system, junior, secondary, O level, A level, and university right across. And as such, he has also observed that, the agriculture curriculum favors the Western agricultural practices, and there is a dearth of the indigenous knowledge, and in his findings, quite some efforts are being put in place so that we address that, because he observed that, these were marginalized, denigrated, and in some cases condemned. And in fact, he recommends that, or he observes that, the indigenous knowledge and the Western knowledge should actually complement each other, or should be complementary. He highlighted a number of benefits of us being aware of the indigenous agricultural knowledge, and his findings would be very useful to agriculture, if not the whole of Zimbabwe economy. Once again, shall we give him another round of applause? Thank you very much. We quickly move on to the next presentation, ladies and gentlemen, by Mrs. B. Taringa, and we invite her to come forward. And as she comes forward, I just want to give you some insights as to the kind of presenter that we have. Mrs. Beatrice Taringa, as you may be aware, has gone through the mill, has a diploma in education covering both Shona and history, a Bachelor of Education degree in Shona, and which she took further at master's degree level, where she has the Master of Education degree in Shona, and at the moment is in the final phases of a doctorate, Doctor of Laws of degree in education, and again with a special emphasis on Shona. At the moment is a lecturer at Belvedere Technical Teachers College in the Professional Studies Department, and has so far come up with 3 publications, and these have been all registered and done by Professor Z.O. is not here, and which indicates that the future is very bright, because I understand anybody who publishes with professors in the institution will go far. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, she has presented at various international conferences, including even the Research Council of Zimbabwe conferences, the RASET, SASE, University of Zimbabwe Teacher Education Research Conferences, and so forth and so forth, and including this one as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our heads together for Mrs. Beatrice. 20 minutes. I will lift my I'll lift my hand, show you, you are left with 5 arms. And when I stand up, it means...
When you stand up, it means what?
If I stand up, I mean you have overshot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Taringa B is my name. And that's the title of my paper. Nega a woman, nor a man. Female, male characters, and femininity and masculinity in Shishona New World, 2010-2015, ordinary level prescribed literature, literary text. Right? And from that, it is acknowledged globally that there is need for gender equality. And educational material, especially instructional material, have been vetted in some other countries. And there are global forums like the EFA, UNMDG's 2000, and the Forum Sustainable Development Goals repetition that are set up to 2030. And still the issue of gender equality remains true. The research is an inductive, qualitative content and discourse analysis of the literary text, gender messages, and their possible effects to the learners. And in case I won't be able to read the findings, the findings review gender duality, gender bending, subversion, conformity and non-conformity to standards of womanhood and manhood, according to the Shona standards and Zimbabwe. So, as a recommendation, the abstract is giving the summary of the whole paper. There is need for a checklist for gender during selection of text and perhaps a shift in teacher talk around those texts. Right. The vetting, there is need for vetting instructional materials, and in this case I'm dealing with the literary text, to determine whether the gender portrayal fosters or impedes lifelong learning to ordinary level learners in this case. Right. The literary texts have been seen to be possible sources of gender behaviors, values, and attitudes that may possibly shape learners' future, and according to those scholars. And normally, gender in secondary school curriculum, at the moment in the new curriculum that we are unpacking, is a cross-cutting thing, which means it runs across a number of learning areas. Right. And thus, I feel compelled to take up that feather and get to the instructional material and check on whether we are really fostering what we want to achieve. Right. And as for the background, gender and education at the moment had been a subject to scholarly activities, global, regional, and even national. And instructional materials in some other countries have been vetted or for their relevance, including in Zimbabwe for English language and history. But as for the literary materials for ordinary levels, they have not been vetted. And now we are here today towards unpacking the new curriculum. And I feel, as someone who is preparing to be a specialist in Shona, and definitely as an upcoming educationist, there's need to vet those educational materials to see if they really foster what we want to achieve. Right. And as for the problem statement, depth in literature on how gender is represented, especially in Shishona literary materials, prescribed for Zimbabwean ordinary level learners, both boys and girls, right? And this is despite that a UNESCO organized seminars, a series of seminars, Cameroon, that year, and all others, as indicated by, we have not up to then vetted on the instructional materials that we are giving our learners to find if we really are on the mark. Right. As for the research questions, how is gender represented in the Zimbabwean ordinary level Shona literary prescribed text 2010-2015. What could be the possible effects of such representation of gender to the boys and girls who are exposed to them? And how can we possibly account for such representations that are found in those texts? And as for the justification, the background literature showed that gap, right, at the moment, right? And findings from other learning areas like history and English, like I said, cannot be generalized to Shona literature texts, given the fact that most of those takers of Chishona are really taking Chishona not only as a subject, but as a language and as a culture. And really, we need to know what gender values, norms, attitudes are we fostering in those cells. And as for the delimitation, is simply an inquiry into the representation of gender in purposely selected literary texts, those I've mentioned. And in this case, we have those 4 texts in particular, and most of them in the 80s, with the exception of Chitsikes Minister Mungu. Right. And as for the methodology, it's a qualitative paradigm, so that at least I can unpack as a social issue, gender in education, right? And the data was qualitatively analyzed. The case for purposely sampled literary texts that are noted, and content and discourse analysis to at least make sure that the latent and manifest gender values, norms, and beliefs are captured. And since the excerpts are in Shona, I translated them from using the gloss annotation translation. And of course, as for some limitations, I can assure you there is a possibility of some gaining or losing as I translate. And as for the theoretical framework, this time, to measure a gender in Chishona, I opted for the Afrocentric paradigm, Africana humanistic theory, which is more germane to the African need. And as for the findings, my major finding is that the finding is challenging gender binary that was informed by the psychoanalytic theories. And my thesis, not all femininities are feminine, and not all masculinities are masculine. That's what it's supposed to be. So the 2 genders are used to be stated as bipolar objectives in a number of other researches, which rendered insufficient to vet the Shona gender matrix that I later realized from the literary text that I vetted, right? And according to those scholars, there was considerable agreement across a number of psychological studies that came that a typical woman is seen to be warm, kind, passive, communal, or selfless and concerned with others, while a typical man was supposed to be tough, aggressive, assertive, agentive, self-assertive, and motivated to master. And what we are seeing, this is what we are exposing our learners to, that picture. And what does that picture tell us? Femininities and masculinities are redefined. Gender binary and oppositional theories are becoming inadequate to capture the reality that I found in the literary text, especially Nyambiri Sreva in Ripalma Zombe. There is husband battery. Mutusha akati ade nama. Zvibhakera zvikati zvonaya kana mutusha. Zvemukusha. Mutusha akamboti tsatsa. Mukadzi yaive yavashumba. Mai chiri mukadzi wangu. Ndanzwa chindiregerera. Wondiuraya. But you see, that's in line with Judith Butler, 1999, figurative males. Is that the kind of a woman who is warm? Right? In other words, there is doing gender rather than gender being fixed to the body, which means in this case, the thesis is saying there is gender doing, there is performative in terms of gender. And another issue that is coming is that gender is any body. That which you are seeing on my taringa is simply the package. That even if when my taringa is no longer in here, the body will be there reflecting my taringa. Right? And again, masculinity is being challenged. Nyambiri Simtusha in Ripalmananzonde, referring to his first wife, he was referring to his first wife. It shows that there is fluidity of gender, which renders it performative rather than linked to sex. As ndichapa mukadzi mutemo sei achindirova nezvitukwa zvake. Handigari ndichirohwa ini. Zvinonga mukadzi rudzi anorova murume. Vandiye atova murume. Contrary to a woman who is supposed to be submissive, obedient, that's according to Jane 2015. In other words, what is taking place according to my thesis is there is rewriting of gender script, destabilizing the former femininity and masculinity that we used to know. That's according to Markey 2010. And toughness and masculinities are challenged. As you can see, thus gender and sexuality are posed as flexible. They can be changed. They are simply roles and are largely becoming social constructs which can change as context changes, right? So this one is a bit worried, Mutush. Asini vakadzi vanotiteerera. Mai vachiri ndaibhoti zvimwe mangorobera ake. Konyemudzai ane mangorobera ake. Ndiudzeiwo. Munhu orobwa nevakadzi vufaka moto hwose hwapera. It means this one has been robbed of that masculinity by this kind of a new woman that is coming up. And according to our theoretical framework, what is the issue? How can we account for those issues? There is a self-invention of a new woman according to Hughes fairy tale. Revari, barika, ndozokera kwa baba, ndosiya, vanosasadzana, vachisasadzana voga. It means this one, again, can no longer be contained in the polygamous marriage. Right? This is according to Nyandiri Sererai, which concurs with that scholar. Second type of a new woman with flying wings, who is a symbol of freedom and self-determination. You cannot contain her in the usual, traditional, feminine, stereotypical kind of relationship, where they could not go anywhere. And there is an intragender situation that is coming in. We have got a maita guta. Inga mungatoonda nazvo. Iwo mabarika inga tese tinawo. Hapana zvokuzviita asi kungozvigarira nevana vako muchizvishandira. The opposite is coming in. Vasarudzai. Wosiya upfumi hwako, vana unovasiyirana. This is the opposite of that woman with the wings that we have seen previously. And is also packaged within the those ordinary level texts. And we are subjecting our learners to that dilemma on which one to follow, right? So the first type of femininity, that is entrapment. They are entrapped. This lady is entrapped, right? Unlike the other one that we have seen in the previous slide, right? Another situation, when you see this, what do you expect? Right. Women as speaking subjects, challenging masculine conception. As handiti imimba iyi, ndeyaJohn kwete Mutusha. Iwo wakandibhadhara chii muupenyu hwangu. Wofa waziva kuti handizi manje, According to that scholar, the kind of woman, those are, who are regarded as predators, monsters, and like females, refusing to follow the feminine normative script. They cannot be defined in the way the gender normative script. Such literary characters break the gender rule, swerves away from the gender normative script, according to that scholar. And what does that mean? Is that if I had given enough background information, you could have known that that woman had been staying with 2 husbands within the same homestead. And that is the kind of the literature that we are subjecting ordinary levels to. And remember, they are at a critical stage. They are adolescents. They are seeking identity. These are the options that we are giving them so that they can weigh and pick from that. And kunyepa unyari kurera zvangu ko zvako wakangama unoberekesa ine zingo mari namari woda kunditsvagira chikomba wajaira naye asi ndo zvawakaitira rere. That kind of a woman, usually so insensitive, right, as to say that to the husband whom you know that is failing to conceive, and you are supposed to be standing by that warm woman. This one is not. The such female literary characters, they will have break gender rule and swerves away from the gender normative script that we used to know, right? Then the other issue is like this one. That woman who drains men of their masculinity and leaving them slaves. The husband is desperate. Yemudzai says to her husband, kunditsvagira gono ndirimba, kunditsvagira bhuru ndiri mombe, handisati ndamboona murume akaita sewe. The husband has been stretched, gone to an extent of wanting to hire someone to impregnate the wife because he's desperate, he's constantly harassed, right? And that there is the wife. Unomuda wemukadzi unomuitise zirema zibenzi. Ndinozvidudza hanzi uri murume pai here mabhurugwa zvichingodaro. Those kind of issues. And here comes another scenario. We are exposing them, the learners, to this again, stereotypically ruling out girl child from STEM. Chinguri ndakakubvira kuti ndifundisewo maths hamudi, asi kungozvigarira. Maths ndiri kutambura nadzo wena, Cecilia akadaro achitoni. Already we have shown them that mathematics, we are showing them contrary to what we want to achieve, gender equality. There is no gender equality. Already this one has been pitted out before they even try. And as for the possible educational implications, the author seemed to be telling the learners, the ordinary level learners, that marriage is a means to an end. And the end is the... So no hope of a child-free marriage. Gender script had been simply turned upside down. When at a critical time, when we are moving towards achieving gender equality, there was woman battering. This time around is the husband battering, which is simply turning upside down instead of trying to balance, right? The other two boys, Dave is providing a model for mathematics, and to girls, mathematics is neither theirs nor concern them. Already Cecilia had been ruled out. And manhood and womanhood is measured by ability to procreate. Is that all? Is that all that we can call? So the marriage partners and gender are masses that can be simply picked and you can pick and drop. That was happening. And in conclusion, gender, to me, according to all this, I feel is dynamic, is relative, and context specific. Woman and manhood are just social constructs and subject to D or E construction if need arise. Ignoring vetting texts may be tantamount to leaving desirable learning to chance. And gender can be any body, not anybody. And a recommendation for a checklist for gender issues. Replication of such study to other indigenous languages, literary materials, and researchers should be evenly deployed to ensure latent and manifest gender aspects are understood fully. Because sometimes if you get the quantitative way at the moment, you may feel that the gender terrain had been leveled. Yet, it's not yet. We are not yet there. Is gender a mask that you can put on and off at will?
That's what you say.
Ladies and gentlemen, gender is not anybody, but anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for this. I wanted to give you 2 hours. If you had the time. It was really very interesting. Yes. And she observes that, gender in secondary school curriculum is cross-cutting. And it's actually feels that there is really need for us to unpack the new curriculum. And from the issues that she was raising, I'm sure you all agree with her. Not all masculinities are masculine, and not all feminines are feminine. You see, that women should be submissive. He said these things have to be redefined so that we have a new position. It has come up with very interesting findings, which needs to be, shared with many educators. Thank you very much for a job well done. Shall we give you another good round of applause? Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we quickly move on. Just to indicate to all delegates that please take note of any questions that you may want to ask. Just take note of them. At the end of the 4 presentations, we are going to have a question session. So just to take note of the questions for Mr. Petsai, questions for Mr. Ringa, and questions for Mr. Madondo, who is coming in, and those for Dr. Karinga when he comes in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this stage in time, allow me to invite Mr. Manasa Monashe Madondo to come forward. A seasoned classroom practitioner with specialism in areas of geography and history. Has been in the secondary school system for almost 10 years, and from there went on into the teacher education system, worked for more than 15 years, and is currently now at the University of Zimbabwe in the Department of Curriculum and Arts. Let's put our hands together as we welcome. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, my teacher. My topic is a requiem too soon, a landing strand too far. Teacher-centered pedagogy versus teaching for critical thinking in the Zimbabwe curriculum framework 2015 to 2022. With regards to background and introduction, the quest to teach for critical thinking is as old as education. We can trace it back to Socrates at the Socratic method. Here, provisionally, we can define teaching for critical thinking as pedagogical approaches that lead to school graduates who can make thoughtful or rational judgments in virtually every aspect of their life. It may be who to believe, or what to believe, what products to buy, and daily decisions and life options to pursue. Next. The Zimbabwe Curriculum Framework 2015 has not been left out in this quest for teaching for critical thinking. They refer to development or the need to develop higher order thinking skills and competencies that enable learners to mobilize their knowledge, skills, attitudes independently and creatively in order to address different challenges. And critical thinking is one of the exit skills or exit profile skills which are needed to move on. The research questions are three. The first one is what teaching for critical thinking occurs among secondary school geography teachers in the wake of the Zimbabwe Curriculum Framework imperative. What challenges face the quest for teaching for critical thinking in secondary school geography? And lastly, what are the possible solutions to these challenges? With regards to methodology, it was basically a mixed method approach where a questionnaire survey was used and it was considered to be a reliable instrument, and we had also a document study, document analysis, mostly focusing on the documents related to the Zimbabwe Curriculum Framework. And there is also a review of literature on critical pedagogy. Thank you. Next. With regards to findings, the question, what teaching for critical thinking occurs among secondary school geography teachers? Here, a teaching for critical thinking questionnaire with 25 behaviors or practices was rated, which was rated on a 5-point Likert scale, was administered to an accessible sample of geography teachers who happened to be at a workshop, and therefore it was accessible in that sense. Can you move on? The data collected through the questionnaire was subjected to analysis through the SPSS version 21 to analyze the questionnaire entries with responses first coded into the SPSS spreadsheet with numeric values assigned from 1 to 5, 1 representing never at all and 5 representing nearly always. Perhaps at that I might need to just point out that some of the things which we're looking at had to do with the use of learner-centered methods, the use of, say, games, simulations, etc. And these were basically approaches or practices which literature is suggesting that they would enhance critical thinking in learners. With regards to the findings, we find that if we could perhaps go still on that, we are just saying that those are the 5 categories, and we starting at 12 o'clock, we are moving this way, and those are the kind of percentages that we have. In the blue one there, you will perhaps forgive my color. I am not that good at colors, I think, but in the blue one, that was the nave, almost always. And then we had frequently, and then we had also sometimes, rarely, and never at all. So the findings were these. 20% or nearly 21 respondents indicated that they nearly always indulge in teaching for critical thinking, while 39.2 frequently engaged in these behaviors. 29% indicated that they sometimes engage in teaching for critical thinking. Some 11 indicated that they rarely or never engaged in critical thinking behavior. So basically, I think what we are saying is that teachers claim to be teaching for critical thinking. Because your 20% there, your 39%, your 29%, those ones are the ones that are more on the positive. And we would say teachers claim to be teaching for critical thinking. If we could move on. A t-test for independent samples results indicated that the teaching for critical thinking in geography, the behaviors teachers engage in are independent of gender. That is, both males and females behave in a similar manner. And the statistics are there, your alpha level, etc. But if I get stranded, my teacher here will always help me. But the point that we are talking, the issue that we are bringing home is that there was an argument which we put forward first that female teachers and male teachers, they show no difference with regards to the use of critical thinking skills. And we are accepting that there is no difference in terms of the behaviors which they indicated on the questionnaire. If we could move on. We, however, find that document analysis has other things. The analysis of the official documents shows that teaching for critical thinking is among many skills that are being highlighted. And therefore, literature would seem to suggest that if there are so many in the package that you are offering, sometimes the focus on any one of them tends to be diluted. So literature would seem to suggest that teaching for critical thinking, once it is a part of a big basket, becomes problematic. And then we find that higher order tasks versus critical thinking, there's misconception that higher order tasks in the vein of Bloom's taxonomy, like your synthesis, your analysis, are tantamount or they are equal to critical thinking. But that is not the case. What we are saying is that what determines critical thinking is not so much the level of tasks, but perhaps the engagement or the use of criteria to judge what is there. So we might be operating at, say, the lowest level, like understanding recall. But if we are using specific criteria to come to decisions and to hold those decisions, then we are engaging in thinking. Whereas we can arrive, we can pretend to be analyzing or synthesizing on the basis of fallacious arguments, and therefore that kind of analysis or synthesis is not linked or is not resulting in critical thinking. Some of the requisite, the literature also indicates that teaching for critical thinking tends to be divorced from teaching content. Okay, literature is suggesting that teaching for critical thinking should be integrated and mainstreamed in the teaching of content. But there seems to be practice, as indicated in literature, to say that I will first of all give them the content, which will act as the basis from which they can then operate to think critically. But the argument is that they have to be introduced simultaneously, even with simple content, with complex content. And some of the teaching tools for critical thinking are, there is a requisite background information or content which is needed. There is also need for criteria for judgment. And perhaps I will just digress here. My teacher, with your concurrence, has given me another 5 minutes. If we could go to slide 14. Okay. When you are engaging in critical thinking, you specify the criteria through which you are judging whatever it is you are judging. And therefore, we want to be saying that perhaps as we look at this slide 14. As we look at this slide, let us just make one criterion, that we need to make informed decisions on the basis of all the information. So we move on. Just a moment, is technology. Technology is, we're looking at another slide which is not part of this. So we are agreed for our purposes here that we are using the criterion of having to judge what we are seeing with all the information at our disposal. In other words, we judge in the light of full information what it is that we are having. So let us just look together at what is there. I see a circle, I see another. It seems I see that. I don't know what that is now. I thought those were ears, or were eyes rather. Now I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know about you. But you are not sure. Yes, I'm not sure even. But what is it that what we are saying is that critical thinking has to follow given criteria. And if we follow those criteria and come to the conclusion, then we have engaged in critical thinking. I'm not sure what critical thinking we had here, but well, I think we move on. Let us move on. I think we all have a slide. We move back today. Was I already on the recommendations? Yes, I think we were there. We are also saying that You see, knowledge about critical thinking does not necessarily translate into teaching for critical thinking. And I think that is one of the weaknesses of the instrument that I used. It was just a checklist on the basis of some categories which were derived from literature. And therefore, teachers, I think, basically have an idea of what critical thinking should be. And therefore, in their checking, they might have had that influence of prior knowledge. Okay. You would need, obviously, to have critical thinking vocabulary, which goes with that things like your logical reasoning, your conclusion, the kind of thesis which we are coming up, but the dean perhaps might be more at home with these areas. I am on saying here. Let's move on. Right. You would also have to have thinking strategies and habits of mind. By habits of mind, you are thinking of things like, say, some basically don't tolerate disorder. Okay. They have a way of doing things. Some stick to certain procedures. So we are arguing that yes, you have to have a habit of mind in order to engage in critical thinking. Literature is also sometimes questioning the relevance of in critical thinking. I know I am perhaps moving in troubled waters, but basically, that is my understanding. You usually don't question the wisdom of the elders. Allow me to be perhaps thinking critically. And therefore, if you don't question the wisdom